So yesterday I did a video on Jussie Smollett, and it really did show just how upset I am to learn that a person who is actually guilty of a crime is trying to get an emergency release because his feelings are hurt and he is threatened in jail. So the thing is, I've been locked up in jail. I know what it's like in jail. And I'm going to use some of my own experiences from my time that I was incarcerated to iterate what life is like in jail. And believe me, folks, it is no picnic. Jussie Smollett is in jail for committing a crime. So before I do get into it, let's go over the facts of the Smollett case. Jussie Smollett decided to, in late January of 2019, stage a hate crime against himself. He paid off two black people, the Osundario brothers, to dress up as if they were MAGA country folk and beat him up, put a noose around his neck, and pour bleach on him. And so he could claim that he was the victim of a vicious hate crime. Well, the only problem that he didn't take into account was he was doing this in Chicago, where less than 5% of the population in Chicago are, hold on one second. There. So, sorry. So after, or he, where was I? 5%, or less than 5%. Yeah, sorry about that. Less than 5% of the people in Chicago are Trump supporters. In fact, no place in Chicago sells MAGA hats at the time. And they even had the interview on the news with the store manager that was at the store where the Osundario brothers bought the bleach, bought the noose or the rope, and tried getting MAGA hats. Well, they got red hats instead that didn't say MAGA on it. And Jussie drove them around rehearsing this whole damn thing. And he even asked the police to turn off their body cams. Another red flag. Then it came out that all this turned out to be fake. Because once the investigation was concluded, they found very little evidence to suggest, actually very little to actually no evidence to suggest that Jussie Smollett was a victim. In fact, he was the perpetrator. And therefore, he could, or after all is said and done and the trial and all that, whatnot, he got off. They dropped the charges against him originally. And then a special prosecutor was allowed to revisit the case and found that he was indeed able to be criminally tried. And he was convicted. Now, they said that the maximum he could have served was 3 years. I do believe he should serve that 3 years, and this is why. He not only tried creating a hate crime hoax, or he actually did create the hate crime hoax, but what he did was increase racial tensions in the United States during an already politically and racially charged time due to certain political parties pushing narratives. And good morning to you, Raya Kitty. Good to see you. And yeah, imagine if two white people were picked up, any guys who were in the area, and imagine if they were picked up and arrested. And Jussie Smollett, in some happenstance, managed to get away with this crime, and he identified those two white men as the people who beat him up. Well, those two people's lives would be irrevocably ruined. Their reputations completely ruined, and Jussie Smollett would not care. In fact, he would be sociopathically devoid of any emotion of two white guys getting in trouble for something they did not do. And they would be spending time in jail that they didn't deserve. Well, now Jussie Smollett is in jail. And during his sentencing, the judge called it out for what it was. He faked a hate crime to boost his ego, his reputation, and because of his own narcissism, he did this. And then Jussie threw a fit, claiming, I'm not suicidal. I'm not suicidal. If you did this, I'm sorry, but a truly innocent person would not say, if I did this. A truly innocent person would say, I didn't do this. A truly innocent person would not give or would actually separate themselves completely from the incident. If somebody did this, that is how an innocent person would say it. If someone did this, then, well, yeah, from there. So now he is serving 150 days in jail. He may get out after 75 due to certain legal happenings. But his family are obviously standing by him, even though the evidence of his guilt is overwhelming. It is beyond shadow of a doubt. It is beyond reasonable doubt that his guilt was established. Jussie Smollett, in all truth and honesty, faked a hate crime and is still lying about it. And now he is incarcerated. He was put in the psych ward because he kept on screaming outside or in the courtroom, I am not suicidal. Well, that tells us that you should be put under observation, Jussie. Your name is now synonymous with lies, deceit, and self-victimization in order to boost one's ego and station and reputation. He's the butt of jokes, as the judge even said. Now, here's where I am going to start talking about my own experiences in jail and how utterly ridiculous, because the legal team of Jussie Smollett is now trying to get him or secure an emergency release because because Jussie Smollett has been threatened. His life has been threatened. You see, when I was arrested back in 2017, I was put in a jail. Hello, lovely Sherry. Good to see you. And I was put in protective custody, like Jussie Smollett is. He is put in protective custody. When you are in protective custody, my own experience, I was only allowed out of my cell for an hour. I was allowed to watch TV, take care of any food situations that I needed to take care of, if there was, or from commissary and whatnot. He will be perfectly safe in the psych ward. Well, he's now out of the psych ward, Riot Kitty. They actually have released him from the psych ward, according to his brother, thanks to fans. So, my time inside, from a good morning, hope you're doing well. Hello, Price is Right, good to see you. Jussie Smollett was yelling, I am not suicidal. It indicates to me that he might get Epsteined. No, he's not going to get Epsteined. He might try to Epstein himself, or he might try setting it up to where he is going to get attacked. He might do that because that way he can claim look, I did get attacked in there. I said this would happen, and now it happened. So, yeah, that might happen. In protective custody, then I guess. Yeah, protective custody. Hold on one second, folks. Sorry about that. In protective custody, you are separate from Gen Pop because either through dint of what the charges were or because your life may indeed be at risk. Well, in protective custody, you do not leave your cell to eat. At least this was my experience. You are not allowed out of your cell to eat 3 meals. You get 1 hour of recreation or recreational time. 1 hour to shower, to watch a little TV, get some fresh air if fresh air is available from the outside world, and mingle with the other PCs, protective custody inmates. Is there a danger that you might be attacked? Absolutely. Because the thing is, when you are being hauled to a trial or a court date, you are strung up with everybody else. You are put in the cuffs and whatnot. You are put in with everybody else. Now, the best thing to do in this situation is keep your mouth shut. But if you are not recognized as one of the people that are seen out and about with the rest, and they identify you as a protective custody, they are either going to assume one of two things: that you are either a sexual deviant or a child molester, which is the same as sexual deviant, or something else that has earned you protective custody, snitch, or something else. They will not trust you. In fact, they may actually attack you in these situations between getting your cuffs put on and getting down to your court date. I myself was attacked in these situations where I was awaiting my court date or my court summons. And the reason why I was attacked was strictly racial. It was a bunch of black people that started hitting on me, pushing on me, and pounding on me. And they were saying words like, "You're nothing but a cracker, white boy, piece of shit," and whatnot. Now, did I react? No. In fact, I actually took the beating, walked back to the cell after all was said and done, did my time or stood before the judge and all that. And the deputies are like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Fine. Didn't hurt." It was only after I got back to my cell that I actually allowed myself to outwardly show that I was in pain. I laid down, I went to sleep, rested it off. My back had bruises for well over a week. Now, Jussie Smollett has only gotten threatened in jail. And if he does in fact get attacked through no fault of his own, except for him being an asshole, well, guess what? That is a normal occurrence. Just because a person is threatened in jail does not mean they should be recommended for an emergency release. Because if you are going to take that consideration for the rich and powerful, for the celebrities, for those who have high influence, then you should do it for those who are less influential. One, or if you're going to do it for one, you better fucking do it for all. Prison is what I call the concrete jungle. The inmates won't give a rip if Jussie is famous. For the most part, most of the inmates won't even know who he is. In fact, yes, that is true. They will not care. And there was a time when there were underage inmates that were brought onto my pod or a section of the jail where these kids were too violent for the minor pod, as they call it. Well, these kids were also dumb enough to do things like shoot at a cop. And then this kid bragged about it. I believe this kid is now dead because he got tried as an adult and he was sent up to a state prison. Well, the thing is, if you try killing a cop and you miss, that's not the same as killing a cop. Cop killers get respect. Those who miss cops tend to get killed because you're nothing. Violent occurrences will happen in jail. Whether you try to avoid them or not, somebody is always going to try to take a shot at you. Not a bullet shot, but a violent interaction. Jussie Smollett liked to say after he got attacked, "I'm the gay Tupac." If you're whining about your life being threatened in jail, well, I'm guessing that Tupac Shakur would have kicked anybody's ass who tried to go after him. Jussie Smollett is nothing but a whiny little bitch. And he's going to be somebody's bitch in that jail, most likely. I'm really sorry for what you went through. Did your accusers ever get charged for perjury? No, it didn't go to trial. I was forced to take a deal. Michelle Crocker. And thank you for stopping in. I was forced to take a deal that dropped all the felony charges against me and only gave me a misdemeanor charge that included going home that very day. So yes, my accusers will not be held to account. And does that bother me? Yes, it does, in a sense. It bothers me. But am I going to waste my life worrying about it? No. Everything wrong with this country, dude. The rich get taken seriously and the rest of us get laughed at. Exactly, Michelle. Exactly. As for Jussie Smollett, he will most likely not get sexually assaulted. There is a chance, sure, but there is a very slim chance of it happening. You see, when you are out doing your recreation, and from what I hear about his situation, he is not allowed out with anybody else. So that means that they have a no contact order with him. So he is allowed to go out for his recreation and do it all by himself. He does not have to worry about being assaulted. And he is then brought back to his cell after his recreational time is done. Now, does that mean that there won't be people who walk by his cells try to splash urine on him and other shit? No, that will indeed most likely happen. People do disgusting shit in jail to those who are in protective custody. My cell had two small open slits so that it wasn't cut off from air. And so mail could be put in. Well, it also was wide enough for a bottle top to go through and for somebody to smash the bottle to allow whatever the contents was to go into it. And believe me, there are some creative idiots in jail. People who will try to take their fecal matter and push it into a jar. People who will take their piss and piss in a jar and splash it out. This stuff might actually befall Jussie Smollett. Is he deserving of it? No, not particularly. But am I going to feel bad for anything that befalls him in jail? Absolutely not. Jail is not school. Jail is not a hotel. Jail is not the Ritz. You don't get the luxury in jail. Your rights do not exist in jail. If the guard tells you to shut up and lock in, you shut your mouth, you go to your cell, and you close that door until it locks. You lock in. If he decides that he doesn't want to listen, well, then a CERT team, a emergency response team, will go in, put him on his knees, cuff him, drag him back to his cell, and put him in it. Hey, Tim Talk, how you doing? This is not a place that anybody wants to be. Jail, that is. But Jussie Smollett is under as much protection as he can get. Now, during the time where he is going to his court dates or whatever, if somebody decides to take a swing at him or beat the shit out of him, guess what? That is indeed possible. It will happen. And most likely that person will be held to account if they attack him. Now, there are certain situations where you can indeed choose to press charges while in jail. There was a time that I was assaulted, not the first time by the group, but another person came up, smacked me right across the face for a bag of ramen noodle. Food is currency in jail, by the way. He got ramen noodles, and I was willing to press charges, but then I realized something. They were saying, you are going to have to walk up to his cell, point to him, and say, that is the man who assaulted me. Well, I learned very quickly that that is a very dangerous thing to do in jail. They will, or I would have to stay in protective custody, and most likely the word will travel around that I did rat somebody out. And then, well, yeah, I would most likely be targeted after that. So I decided not to press charges. He got his own punishment, except for an additional assault charge. And anybody who is, or say another person in protective custody decides to take a shot at Jussie Smollett, if he wasn't in a no contact order, if he was allowed to go out with the other PCs to do their recreational time. Now, if he and that or another inmate got into it, there would be a no contact order issued between both of them so that they are not allowed out while the other is out. Those who may attack Jussie in jail, they may be lifers, thus they won't care what happens to them if they attack Jussie. Exactly. Now, believe me, I've had death threats while I was in jail. I've had people threatening to cut me open if they ever caught me outside of my cell. All of that comes with the territory of being in jail. You're going to have people threaten your life. The guards are not going to be remorseful. They aren't going, or they will care only as much as keeping you as safe as you have to be in jail. If there is a fight, they will break it up. If you are stabbed, they will bring you to the hospital. And if you try to fight them, all bets are off. They will restrain you and whatnot, sure. But then they might not be as protective. Folks, jail is not a nice place. I have kept saying this over and over. But Jussie Smollett will have to learn this. I mean, he shouldn't have a problem. He's the gay Tupac. He could whoop somebody's ass. Well, it turns out that he's a whiny little bitch now. And he's afraid for his life now. Talking a big game and being a big game are two different things. Honestly, I think he should do the full 3 years, not just 170 or 150 days, which may go down to 75. I think that he should have paid the full $130,000 in restitution to the state of or to the Chicago police, not just $121,000. I think that he should be or also have the 30 months felony probation after he does the 3 years. They should have thrown the book at him in the maximum, in the full maximum. In fact, they should have stacked the damn charges because it was 5 of 6 counts of disorderly conduct, each carrying 1 to 3 years. He should have done 15 years, to be in all honesty. But the judge was lenient because of his professional career, of who he was and whatnot, of how he has not been in jail before. I wasn't in jail before. Yeah, I had to do 9 months. Right to speedy trial denied. And everything else. My life was threatened. I was assaulted several times. I didn't get an emergency release. Jussie Smollett belongs in jail. What he should do is 3 years, in my opinion, which is the maximum of one of those counts. 15 years does seem to be a little overboard. I will amend what I previously said. 15 years, overboard. 3 years, more than enough time. In fact, actually, I think that is exactly enough time. No early release. I do not believe in early release with good behavior. I'm sorry, I don't. You are given a sentence, you should serve it. That is one thing I will always disagree with in the justice system. Now, when it comes to false accusations, or wrongful convictions and whatnot, I do believe that those should, or that appeals and whatnot should happen. He is allowed his right to appeal. However, that evidence is still overwhelming. Jussie Smollett committed a crime. He has to do the time. And if something happens to him in jail, that is just life. That's life. That's what old people say. So, but if they are seriously going to consider giving him an emergency release, then they better start considering it for everybody else who has been threatened in jail. Where was my emergency release requests? Where's that stuff for me when I was getting beaten on, threatened, and whatnot? If I was the acting judge in that trial where they asked for an emergency release because his life may be in danger, I would look at that legal team and said, have you ever been in a jail? Have you ever done time? Because if you have, you would know that your life is always in danger while in jail. You are not 100% safe in jail. You will be most likely assaulted physically. You will most likely be looked at, spit at, shit at, and whatnot. That's just the way it is. Protective custody will protect you 80% of the time. The rest of that 20% where you are going for a mental health checkup or a medical visit or to your court date down to the trial where you are put in with the rest of them. Now, chances are Jussie will be separated in that jail, even as he goes to a trial, so he won't be attacked. But when you are walking with the others, they could easily start or attack you, especially if they don't give a fuck. If they're in jail during the time where they are awaiting for like a murder trial or something, if they're lifers and whatnot, they won't give a shit. He's doing time in jail, by the way, folks, not prison. In prison, oh yeah, he would be attacked. They wouldn't give a shit. They'll attack him. They'll slice him up. Especially people who are POCs. They'll go after him for causing more harm than good to the racial tensions in the United States. Jussie Smollett is not an ally to the black community. He is, in fact, one of its greatest enemies. Now, you're going to have some of these SJWs come at me and say, how can you say that? You're not a black person, so you wouldn't understand shit. I may not be black, but I do understand racial disparity. I do understand being attacked and judged for my skin color. I have been while I was in jail. Most of the people in jail happened to be black when I was in jail. A lot of them hated me simply for being white. You know what I had to do? I was not as strong-minded and strong-willed as I am now, but while I was in jail, I had to grow up in jail. I had to accept realities that my life can either be victim or I can stand up for myself if need be. One of the people said, "Sit your ass down, white boy," while he was carrying a broom. He was one of the porters. And I said, "You talk that shit to me again, I'm going to stick that broom so far up your ass, you'll just have to walk to clean the floor." Well, that was the first time I stood up for myself in jail. A lot of the inmates freaking didn't try coming at me again, didn't talk shit at my cell door, didn't do any of that shit after I started standing up for myself. One of the things that inmates will respect is that you can take care of yourself. If Jussie is attacked in prison or in jail during his time in jail, the best thing he can do is fight back. And if he wins, they won't touch him. They won't go after him. Now, he will most likely have to do more time because he fought back. Yes, defending yourself, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you defend yourself, that is, or you're still fighting in jail. They'll take that small bit into consideration when they are handing you another charge, sure. But you are still going to get a charge for it. So if Jussie is the gay Tupac, as he claims to be, if somebody comes at him, he should fight back. But chances are, what he's going to do, well, I did when I received my first beatdown because I did not want an extra charge. I was 100% innocent of what I was accused of. I covered my head and I bent down like that. And I just let them start hitting on me until the guards came in and broke it up and then separated me from the rest of the group. You want to know what those guards asked me? Besides, "Are you okay?" What'd you say to them? In jail, you are looked at as guilty, period. Not guilty until proven innocent. Guilty. Especially if you're waiting your court date. Due process is innocent until proven guilty. Well, Jussie, in this case, doesn't have to worry about that. He was already proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. In fact, through no doubt, he is guilty. There isn't any doubt that he is guilty. Now, you may have the court of public opinion, which I believe should never be considered at all. And you have all these people like Taraji P. Henson and all these free Jussie crowd. And you know what I say to them? You are one of the most, or you are the free Jussie crowd. You are the most ignorant people in this country. The people on The View who think that Jussie is innocent. Well, you're allowed to think that. You're allowed to say it even. But the facts have already been spoken, and the facts are he is guilty of what he has done, which was he faked a hate crime. And he abused the trust of the Chicago Police Department to the point that because he is a celebrity, they lessened their resources for real crimes that were happening in order to get to the bottom of the fake crime that Jussie committed. So yeah, while real people were suffering in Chicago, the fake victim, Jussie Smollett, was being all over the country hailed as a stunning and brave victim of a vicious hate crime. Politicians were calling it modern day lynching. Our own vice president called it that. Why aren't the media asking Kamala Harris now? Well, there is the whole Ukraine thing going on, but they should be asking her, do you still stand by Jussie Smollett for what he did? They should get an official statement from the vice president and from the president, because these are all people who stood by him when he was faking his hate crime. They should get those statements. But as for him being in jail and them granting his emergency release or wanting to have his emergency release granted, if I was a judge, I would say no, absolutely not. He is in jail. He's not in a hotel. He is to do his time as it has been given. He is not in a place where they are going to treat him like a celebrity. They're going to treat him like a bitch that he is. Jussie Smollett, while you do your time in jail, my advice to you is this. If they come after you, you do your best to fight back, because that will ensure that they will not come back after you. Sure, you may get an extra assault charge or whatever attack or tacked onto you, but you know what? They also take consideration that you were defending your life. But if you are going to play victim, like you did when you committed your hate crime hoax, and then by so doing, you also committed a hate crime, you blamed white people for your attack. You should be held accountable to that, or held accountable for that too, for your racist hate crime. But you are not, sadly. However, folks, my advice to him is this: fight back if he's attacked. And if he doesn't want to be attacked, well, have his family send him some of his money so he could pay people off to leave him alone. If you want a submissive bitch, and give people your shit so that they'll leave you alone. That's your only other option. To be a forever bitch. Folks, I'm not going to go an hour with this stream. I only wanted to say my piece, and I have said it. And so I will close out with this. I do want to thank Price is Right Review, Tim's Talk, Michelle Crocker, Riot Kitty, Lovely Sherry, and anyone else who had stopped by. Trayla, if you were in the chat, I'm sorry I could not see you again for some weird reason. YouTube seems to hate your comments for some weird, stupid reason. But yes, Jussie Smollett should do his time, the full 150 days, not just 75. And if they do grant the release, the emergency release, I will do another video or stream to discuss it. Anyway, folks, that is going to be the video. You all know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you have done time, what are your experiences and what would be your advice to Jussie Smollett? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below, folks. This has been Orange Hat Reviews. Stay humble.